Okay, yeah. It's not going to be easy. It's going to be a really long night. Actually, don't cut that. We're still going, all right? We're just going, and we're starting with a laugh.
It's the sort of style of podcast jitters, isn't it?
Yeah. Jitters?
Yeah, jitters.
Maybe jitters. Well, because it feels like you're kind of live, even though you're not at all. Like, this could just easily get deleted and we're fine.
Yeah, and if this is live, we're in serious trouble.
And we're about to say far more abhorrent things.
I'm really excited for future employers to just watch this or listen to this and just think, who are we hiring?
It's like... But I've been going to bed every night thinking about 2 aliens that we could potentially use. You know, Pedwood Ellen. Long talk.
That's a good one.
That's a good one.
I think so. I mean, should we just explain to people what's happening here?
Yeah, right. So we haven't just bought all of us gear so that we could talk to each other under a bit better lighting.
So you lied to me then?
Yeah, exactly. Oh, sorry, mate.
That's the end of the first episode.
Exactly. We ought to start introducing ourselves, which I always find an incredibly awkward thing to do. It's like go around a circle and say something like fun fact or something, which I can't. I'm not capable of it. Yeah. Maybe I'm not built for this life.
That's okay.
But go for it. Can you go first?
So
I'll copy your model
I'm sort of like
answer.
Equally useless in this regard.
I'll copy and paste what you say.
That's good. So I'm Tom. It's a weak start, but we're going to work on it. I am a tenor. I do opera at the Royal College of Music. I'm currently in my 3rd year, and I'm just having a good time. I basically realised that I'm not capable of doing this professionally. You know, it's been a very slow.
We ran out of other options,
but I just thought I could either quit and just start fresh or start a podcast. And it was like, okay. This is basically quitting and starting fresh. Like emotionally, I've quit. No, that's what.
We're using some of the very little knowledge that we've amassed over the years of somehow being in classical music to potentially at least be able to talk about it, which might go down.
I mean, I think the key is it's fooling a future employer that we're sort of capable within a sort of 20-minute interview. If we can just like get through those 20 minutes, they hire us. We've signed the contract. We'll then realise that we're both blithering idiots.
Well, you've just done a fantastic job of marketing yourself, saying, "Hi, I'm Tom, I'm a tenor," and I basically realised I can't do this anymore.
It's a very strong start.
It's a strong start.
What else am I? I'm a part-time babysitter. Because sometimes Ed just sort of runs out into the middle of the road and I've got to sort of pull him back before the Chelsea tractors knock him over.
I'm usually trying to get knocked over when your conversation starts.
So part-time babysitter. I'm a sort of full-time philanthropist.
Should be paid for that. Yeah. Full-time Sorry, can I just wind back?
Oh, I meant. Oh, wait. No, I think I'm a philanthropist. I mean, I sometimes ask people how they're doing.
Like
in conversation,
generous,
you know when you see somebody and they look a bit down and you're like, "You're right, mate." I just like to think that that's me doing my bit for humanity.
Oh God, Tom, you're up there with the grades. You're pushing the boundaries of our generation. That's fantastic.
Well, I've got my eyes on the Nobel Peace Prize, and I just think if I just keep going in this direction.
I think you've caused more turbulence in everyone's life by far than peace.
So that's it. And what else am I? I'm just happy to be here.
Fantastic. That's really great. Is it possible we could maybe talk about what I do now? Because I don't know. It might be. Is it 10 minutes? 10 minutes?
10 minutes. Okay, right. I'm getting bullied already. This is awful. Right. Yes, Ed, why don't you?
There are still more things that you are, right?
Go.
But we'll get onto that when we. I'm Ed, and I think we're both in the same year at RCM, played clarinet. Both in the same position at RCM, but can't do anything to do with RCM.
Totally,
exactly.
Idiotic.
And we hope on this podcast that we'll be able to get guests on, for example, because you wouldn't listen to any more than the 15 minutes that we're recording now if it was always going to be just us two. So
just sort of slowly dribbling into our microphone.
Exactly. So get ready for the Vengerov on second episode. We'll be fumbling it big time, but just you wait.
It's a big announcement, isn't it? We're going to tell that early. Maxim Vengerov is coming onto our podcast.
No. I think
I'm crossing my fingers because it's just so false.
We're not even going to get a reply.
Well, you know what? I've sent him 13 messages now and left him 2 voicemails.
No, that's the thing with him. You always got to try 14.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. Well, I was told 15.
RCM tried 14 times.
Yeah.
And then...
Tell us more about yourself, though, before we get too distracted.
I play as part occasionally of orchestras in RCM and part of chamber music. And orchestra.
Based on the fact that in 3 years you've done one project.
I play in the orchestra when no one else can.
Okay, we're going to have to take a quick detour. We've actually got 2 people behind camera.
How many beers has he had? He's not even doing anything. Sorry, can we introduce... Yeah, I feel like we ought to introduce a couple more people, even if they're not...
They're not going to be in the frame.
They're not going to be in the frame, but we've got Aiden in the background, my flatmate.
Aiden is Ed's flatmate.
Yeah. He's on his...
And in a way, that's all he is.
Yeah, absolutely. It stops there. and a bad one at that. I'm joking. But he is on his 4th beer now, which I understand completely, because there's no other way to get through watching this unless you are on your 4th beer. And then we've got James. James is the asset of this entire venture. We wouldn't be able to do anything without James. Yeah. He's recording, he's mixing, he's contributing.
And he's drinking beer.
The decent humour.
Yeah, it's absolutely what one must do when they're producing.
Exactly.
But no, seriously, like, James is a hero. We've been hounding him at RCM for about a month now, saying to him, we've got a podcast.
Oh, it's been way longer than a month. It's been about half a year, actually. I think. So we see him, and the best way that we have to start conversation is go, we've got a podcast. He was so frustrated by the end. Like, he'd be like working on something, and he'd see me in the corner of his eye, like...
he's like hiding, he's like the blinkers on.
Yeah, exactly. And now we are actually here, and it was something that we could maybe call a podcast, right?
I mean, I'd say at this point it's just a conversation.
It's a conversation.
I think it becomes a podcast when it's a podcast when people listen to it, or when people
when
it's like sent out to the world.
It becomes a podcast when it's actually interesting.
But that means that most podcasts out there would not be podcasts.
That's actually a very good point.
There's so much drivel out there. Have you seen those Joe Rogan ones that are like 3 hours long? And he basically like interviews people, and he's not under any preparation. He just sits there and he's like, so what was that like? Yeah, tell me about that. It's like this guy has absolutely scammed the world into believing that he's a capable podcaster.
Yeah, but he always has someone on his podcast that is interesting enough they can talk for hours on end, and he cannot say anything.
This is your job. That's you. You're the interesting one in this podcast. I'm just going to sit here and just look pretty.
Well, I'm flattered. So you've now got a break from not saying anything, and I'm going to do all the work for the rest, however long is left of this.
Lead on.
Okay.
I'm interested. But a question.
We have a good question.
We did think about this because we've totally not spoken about music. We are going to probably classify ourselves as a classical music podcast.
Yes.
And we haven't yet spoken about classical music.
Of course not. That's the one question that everyone has asked. Like when they saw that 6-second clip that I posted, they were like, "Well, you're going to do one. What's it about?" And then every time I say classical music, I feel like, "But people look at me like, do you really know anything?"
I think we're known at college. You know how you have those big open days and like those big showcase days where they put the sort of top musicians on. They literally ask us to stay at home on those days. We're not even allowed in the building. We just sort of sat here, and you get a call up in the morning from college, being like, "Tom and Ed, you guys, your college IDs won't work today. So if there are any prospective students coming in, they won't meet us."
You know why that is, don't you? It's because half the time I'm doing something so stupid that guests are repelled to visit the next time. Yeah. Like getting changed in the disabled bathroom and hearing a crutch outside the door.
You told me about this. But this is the thing, I will say that, you know what, and I will not criticise you for this, because there are no changing rooms at college.
There aren't any. There
are 2 down in the basement that the opera studio are allowed to use, but they're locked.
No, so I've seen multiple people like do the same thing that I have. It's just that I got caught and I felt very bad. I was perfectly courteous to the woman. I actually rushed out there with my trousers half on. Because I felt bad. I could hear the noises.
Yeah.
You know,
I heard
someone who actually needed to use that loo. Exactly. And you heard that? Oh god! Exchange, you know.
So they contacted me the next day and said your child is going like wreaking havoc around college again.
Your child?
Yeah, my child, the one that I'm supposed to be babysitting. I'm like, no, it's only a part-time job. It's not full-time. Yeah, what else? I mean, but the thing is, it's always that awkward moment where you're getting changed into your like black tie in the bathroom, and you've got this guy who's clearly about to come to the concert who comes in, and he's like just using the urinal next to you, and you just sort of make that eye contact. I don't know if have you not had that?
Sorry, so when you go into the bathroom to get changed, you just get changed in the middle of the bathroom. No, obviously not. Even if I was going to do that, I'd use the cubicle. Can we all agree that you would use the cubicle? You wouldn't just stand in the middle of the whole bathroom.
have I just admitted to something pretty bad here?
Well, Tom, I think if I went into the bathroom and saw you just in the middle, butt naked, I'd probably walk straight back out again.
Butt naked?
And if I had to then see that person on stage later,
I would wonder. Well,
that's
it. Is I'm sort of looking out into the audience. I'm thinking, goodness me, like 10 of these people have probably already seen
You're
me
catching his eye. You're catching
in my
sort
of Father Christmas pants I'm wearing in April. Because the laundry situation's got that
bad. If you were on death row,
right?
If you were on death row, you had to choose 3 pieces of music that you were going to listen to. They were going to be the last pieces of music that you would listen to. What would you choose?
Okay,
this is kind of a challenge. You'd need to go back over your whole life.
Over my whole life.
Choose the ones that have consistently come back up.
Yeah. No, you're right. See, we're actually really struggling to focus here because for some reason our producer is putting us off. We're going to blame it entirely on him.
It's definitely our producer. Yeah. Oh, please, James, stop distracting us.
Yeah, exactly. He's had about half a beer and he's just already just sort of rolling around on the floor like a sort of mess.
Can we just confirm that you did see what Aidan did?
I did see what Aidan did. I'm trying to move past it. My first piece, and this is a piece that I think persistently loved for like 3 years now. And I don't think you're going to have guessed any of these because none of them are opera. One of them is it's like mashup of 2 musical theatre songs called "Marry Me" and "Manhattan." Yeah.
What?
Exactly. So it's by
a mashup.
It's kind of like so.
Tom, this is a classical podcast.
No, okay, yeah, but okay. Well, no, I'm going to call it kind of classical in a way because it was basically this. It was recorded by this guy called. Can we banish him? Can we banish him from the podcast?
We actually do need.
I'd say my first piece is probably this like mashup of 2 musical theatre songs. One of them is like Rogers, i.e. like Rogers from Hammerstein, and the second one is like similar era of stuff. And it was recorded in like I think it was the 1990s by an American tenor called Jerry Hadley. Like it's incredible operatic tenor, but he, in my opinion, was like known. I don't like the way you're looking at me.
I'm actually genuinely listening.
Oh, okay, good. Yeah. This is good. I mean, the thing is, it shows that we haven't had a serious conversation.
What I was finding quite funny was that you actually know the sort of like when this was written, when it was published, like, etc. All of that. Whereas,
this is like
for example, I'm still trying to figure out if like Tchaikovsky was like 1700s or.
That's good. You'll get there one day. Maybe that's something you'll cover later on this year. I mean, RCM does offer a pretty extensive education. Until my 3rd year.
Academic, yeah. Maybe.
Academically, yeah. It really touches all bases. No, so yeah, I think it was 1990s, and it's basically, I think it was from this album called Standing Room Only, and he just recorded operatically his whole life. I think he did Elijah, Mozart Requiem, all this like big stuff, and then just released this album of like musical theatre songs, and it, in my eyes, just shows that like a voice that's well produced. It's actually becoming quite interesting, I think. A voice that's well produced is actually.
He says after hearing himself speak.
This is good. Exactly. It kind of just shows how a voice which is kind of well produced can work for any genre, and it really is. I think we'll create some kind of playlist that will attach to this Spotify episode. Not Spotify episode, sorry, podcast episode. We'll create some Spotify playlists so that people can go and listen to these pieces. Actually, I think that might be interesting.
Yeah.
I just think it's really awesome. It's great singing. It's from the heart. He sings properly, but it's like quite light-hearted, cool stuff. So that would be my number 1. I'm going to say number 2. I'm not going to go for something classical. I'm going to go for a song for All We Know by Donny Hathaway. Really great song, amazing song. And he was like often like overlooked in his life, I think, because he lived in a sort of similar area to Stevie Wonder. And I think it was a jazz standard. It was like a jazz standard from like the 30s or 40s or something. And he just did a version. I think again it was in like 1990 or something. And yeah, it's just a really good song. I think it's just him, his piano, and I think at the end you have this like, I don't know what the instrument is, but it's just like this big instrument at the end, making sort of guttural noises in the background. very distracting. Yeah. And yeah, it's basically a song from the heart. It's a very romantic song, and it's just kind of like, we're in a relationship now, and it's great, and it might end tomorrow, but it doesn't matter because it's lovely today. And I just think it's a very optimistic way of looking at love. I think it's something that's not done these days because everybody these days is sort of so quick to villainize their exes, and so quick to like we do actually. Yeah.
No, sorry. It was. Yeah.
Oh no. I mean, but actually,
okay, but we set. But okay. Classical.
Okay, classical. So
they sort of have to be classical pieces now.
Okay, fine. So if I go classical, I'll finish classical.
No?
I'll go for
mix. Fine. Okay, keep the first one, but go for a second and the third one.
Okay.
Because then people are going to know them more likely if you're listening as a classical.
Fine. Okay, so my second one would be probably the Chopin Piano Concerto, the second movement. from the second piano concerto. It's the Larghetto, and it's actually, I think it's known for being the less performed one.
Yeah.
Because it's a funny thing with the Chopin piano concertos. I think the one that was the second one was actually written first. It was just published second.
He took a long time deliberating whether he actually liked it.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's kind of damning indictment of the piece in a way. But it's just great music. It's just Chopin basically. It's classic hymn.
I would never guess that Chopin's piece was Chopin.
Well, but you say that though, because a lot of music these days is basically underwritten, right, by people.
Yeah.
I mean, I was having a conversation with my flatmate, who's a composer, and he's just kind of constantly talking about how all the great composers these days have just orchestrators. And I'm like, you mean they just have people they farm out their ideas to?
Yeah. But that's partly why Chopin's also famous for not being a very good orchestrator.
Not being a great orchestrator, right.
But he could have still got his ideas across and used an orchestrator, because I still think the composers, it's their ideas that you're hearing.
Sure,
it's
exactly.
just that the people that were like given the basic theme or whatever, they were like, right, that's going to sound good on these instruments, or that's going to be a good mix of these two instruments.
Sure, But that's the thing with Chopin is that everything, he saw the world through the piano, and when he was writing these piano concertos, it's like more so than any other piano concerto written by another composer. It's basically just a solo work, like for the piano, with just this almost like soundscape
with the strings like every now and again coming in or something.
Yeah, just sort of playing random.
But like classic wind solos.
Exactly. Yeah. So that's what it is. And like again for me, and I take this back to both the two pieces that I mentioned previously. It's very similar in the sense that it's kind of a composer's vision that's so easily transmitted to the audience. There's no sort of sophisticated harmony or like really sort of complex harmonic structure to it. It's literally just, here is a beautiful tune, this is my intention behind it, enjoy it. I don't know, that's kind of what gets me going.
Third.
Other things probably the intermezzo from Cavalleria Rusticana.
Can you sing that now? I feel it's on the tip of my, but I can't.
I really do not want to sing this podcast. I'm not getting paid enough to do this.
Beforehand, Tom tried to sing into the mic, and James took his headphones off faster than I've ever seen anyone do anything, because
she never moved so quickly.
Ruined his eardrums. Basically,
actually, that's a lie. He has moved quicker. Like when we accost him in the corridor, he's just sort of like sort of tearing down.
When we seek him out, James, we've got. Oh no, he's
suddenly instead of like wheeling that double bass behind him, he picks it up and sort of carries it around. You know.
All of the strength to get away.
But no, the Cavalleria Rusticana intermezzo, it's like, it basically sits right in the middle of this opera, and I think beforehand we've just found out that I can't remember exactly what happened. This is really awful because this is like opera, this is what I'm supposed to know, but I think we've basically found out that the main character, the tenor, is having an affair with a woman who's married to another chap, and I think that an ex-lover of his is sort of so jealous she's just gone and told this chap what he's up to, so that this guy is basically vowed to kill him.
I think I've actually studied an excerpt, maybe for clarinet.
Yeah, it's a really, really famous piece, and it's kind of like a real like mashup between the anguish of love, but also again that feeling of it just doesn't matter because we're in love, and like that total moment.
Is that like, what? But relating it back, like Death Row.
Sure.
Would you be like wanting to consider that kind of thing?
Yeah,
or would
I think so. I think this takes you back to listen to the things that are like important in life, which are I'd say those feelings of love between romantically and with friends, with family. You know, it's like all of these feelings of love. This is kind of what we live for, really, as humans.
Yeah. Because I feel like if it was, I'd want a piece which I could interpret it that way, but the lyrics didn't necessarily say that it was a specific type of love.
This is an intermezzo, so this is just an orchestral piece. So this is an interpretation.
I haven't watched the opera. Okay, fair enough.
No, so this is just an orchestral interlude, basically.
I need to listen to it. That sounds good, though.
It's a really great piece. I mean, were you in the Pagliacci concert that was last year? I think was it Daniel Hogan who conducted it? It might have been Daniel Hogan.
What was the...
He conducted... Maybe it wasn't Daniel Hogan. Might have been that American chap.
JP Jennings.
I think it was JP Jennings. And he conducted the intermezzo from Pagliacci, which is very similar. They're often performed together.
Yeah.
And it's like... It's quite similar in the sense it's both verismo, so like style of opera, which is very... It's just all about realism.
Yeah.
And again, it's just great music. Anyway, I've blithered on for too long.
Well, you actually sort of know how to, which is quite impressive.
I take that as an enormous compliment. Hopefully my future employers who are watching this will sort of think that I'm actually not totally idiotic.
No, there you go. You're considering a lot about future employers. I don't think either of us are getting any jobs ever after this, but the point
is... I can live with that. We've got a podcast and that's what matters.
Oh, we're going to be huge, mate.
Yeah, it's going to be
dodging paparazzi out the house.
Yeah, talk to me about your 3 pieces.
I think I'd probably choose, I was just thinking about now, I think I'd probably choose Alza Sprague.
Okay, yeah.
Because, like, I don't know if you'd want, before you died, to be, like, really, like, worrying about everything, or whether you'd want to be pumped up. Like, you could just, like, go into it, like, right hook the devil or something.
So how do you think you're going... So how we talk... What kind of death are we talking?
No, okay, I don't know. Like, but, like, would you want to be, like, okay, like, firing squad, and you're like, oh... Or would you want to be, like like dodging a bullet?
It's not the 1940s.
I don't know.
When
how
we're
would you
talking
die?
death row, we're talking, like, lethal injection or... like...
They brought back firing squad in, like, some state in America recently. It's a thing. It's a thing, trust me.
Fact check. We're getting on. Aidan, this is your job now on this podcast.
Check it.
Can you check? I refuse to believe, from a humanitarian perspective, that there is a state in America where you're dead by firing.
Oh, they actually absolutely. Trust me, it's a thing now.
Yeah, I mean, that is actually horrific. Can I just say, from a moral perspective, to put people in front of guns?
Thank you. Yeah.
Utah is the only state to have used firing squads in the past 50 years, according to the Washington, D.C.-based death penalty.
I think that's still... Okay, we can agree that they don't use it anymore, but that's still bad. I agree with you.
New, but it has been used.
So let's say that I'm in Utah, right? And I'm like hands behind my back in line, and my AirPods are in. I'm thinking I either go for it, I either pull out some handstands and splits, avoid the bullet, run.
Like full Matrix style.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah. Or whether I'm just, who wants to be sat there all sad and soppy like you're whatever?
Like I would be, having listened to my 3 pieces.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Actually, you've made a perfect argument for yours. But actually, I was going to say, Alza Sprague, if you were going to go down the soppy route, it's good because it confronts everything.
It
right?
does.
It does.
Right,
Because like every different, not movement, but section has its own like questioning of things.
Yeah.
So I reckon you would never question as much as when you're about to be dying. That would be when in a higher consciousness would kick in. You'd be able to think about things you never thought.
And it's quite a dystopian piece in a way because it's it is quite taken aside from reality. Really, it's a weird piece. It's taken from a prophet, right?
Yeah, exactly. It's based
it.
on Nietzsche's book, Alza Sprague's sister.
Famously a nutcase. Nietzsche.
Exactly.
I'm talking about Nietzsche here. Sorry.
Well, Strauss as well in his own way, but it was based on
and us in our own way. Actually, we're not doing anything to help.
Take my word for it. He's in that case.
Yeah, guys, we're the only normal ones here. You have to believe us. You have to believe.
But not everyone was writing music that was based on genuine artifact. Not artifact. How could you say it? Like books and stuff.
No,
people were doing it, but it was just more normal to be writing a symphony for the sake of writing a symphony. Whereas I actually like
at that period of time, yeah.
At that period of time, whereas I actually like the music which is based on something. I think it's cool because then when you try and match it up with what you're hearing with what you know the book is about.
Yeah.
I haven't read it, but I know what it's about because in orchestra it was talked about a lot.
Yeah,
we played it. That you can start matching it up in your mind. Obviously, you can start hearing how the composer would have thought about the book itself.
Yeah, it gives you a framework, doesn't it?
Yeah.
By which you can approach a piece.
Exactly. And I think if I was on death row, I would be thinking the same thing, but more seriously than before. It'd be quite cool.
Yeah. Because it might take you out of that moment of knowing that the firing squad is about to shoot. When you're in Utah. Yeah.
I feel like it'd be difficult to ever come out of that moment. Oh, I forgot.
The bullets go past your head and I was like, oh, goodness me, I didn't know that was happening.
Exactly, yeah. But that would be the first choice for sure.
Yeah,
I'll try and match the second one.
Let's say the second.
Well, I don't know. Okay, no. Okay, if I want to be pumped up, this would be my choice. Right to Spring, for sure, Right to Spring. And it ends, and it's like, you know what I mean? And it's like...
sorry, can I just hear that demonstration again? I don't know what you mean.
It's all offbeat and it's all crazy and everyone's loving it, everyone's pumped up. I think that if you were angry and you're about to die, it'd be kind of cool,
Yeah.
Like you're angry at the world.
Probably
why am I on
death
death row?
feelings, exactly.
In a way. You wouldn't be happy, you might be angry. And that would be one good piece to listen to, I think.
Yeah, totally.
With the way it finishes and stuff.
That's good.
Yeah. And then the third piece, I am not sure what I would say, but probably something kind of dramatic like Check 6 would be quite a good choice, I reckon.
Okay.
Because he was kind of depressed as well, so then it'd be I can relate. I can relate to you. And this is a time when that's...
Can we just clarify that Ed is actually not depressed? Just the concept of him being on death row would be pretty bleak.
Exactly, yeah. If I was in that situation, then I would be able to relate.
Yeah, just so that this podcast doesn't take a really sort of sad turn.
Yeah, really, everyone starts worrying.
Yeah, everybody's like reporting us, you know. To like Samaritans or something.
Like laughing off depression or something like that. No, which we're not doing, absolutely.
No, absolutely not.
But in that situation, I reckon that'd be a good choice.
Yeah, well, that makes sense to me. Yeah, the whole thing.
Yeah.
Any particular movement of it?
Probably, I'm most familiar with the first movement, and the first movement is like where you can hear everything encapsulated. I think, like in different moments of his thinking.
Yeah.
But the fourth movement as well is quite dramatic like that.
Nice.
And I think it'd be a good choice. It's so many people's favorite piece as well. Like you can kind of understand why you'd go for it.
I can see that. Yeah. Okay, so going on from that then, if there was one composer you could just bin from history, like it's as if they never existed, who are we going for? Because I'm going to make a bold statement here. There's a lot of waffle out there.
I would say it's better to choose someone who's modern if you were going to do it seriously, because then it wouldn't be affecting some of like the potential, like some of the effects of the future.
Well, you're going to hate my choices then.
What, you chose gone for some like Baroque?
There's one composer I really hate, but I wouldn't remove him from history because apparently he had influence on other composers. I just think Haydn is useless. Like, what has he done? He basically wrote 104 symphonies, only like 2 of which are performed regularly.
You're so right.
Do you know what I mean? It's like his operas are like awful.
Also, even the pieces that people say are like, oh, like you really need to listen to this one.
Yeah.
And
it's listen to the Clock Symphony. Listen to the Clock Symphony. It's basically this guy's just left a metronome on, you know, and just like tried to orchestrate it. I say metronome. Did they have metronomes?
Actually, that's quite impressively original for Haydn, because all the other ones sound the same. So if he did do that, then it's quite nice.
I mean, it's good in a way.
An extra effect.
You know when you're listening to a piece by him because it's bad. You know, so you hear a piece of classical string music.
You think it could be Mozart, it could be Haydn.
It could be Mozart, it could be Beethoven, but it's bad.
I don't enjoy it.
so it's Haydn. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But the only thing I would say to that is that Beethoven basically, wasn't it Haydn who mentioned a lot that he taught Beethoven? There was a period where he taught Beethoven.
Yeah, and that's true, you can't eliminate it from history. You can't eliminate,
but then you could also say that I think Beethoven wrote at the time. I don't know much about this, but Beethoven wrote a bit at the time, basically saying that he learnt nothing from Haydn. He thought Haydn was useless. It's nice to know we're in the company of Beethoven in that regard. But no,
I guess Beethoven learnt from Haydn not to be useless.
Yeah, exactly. He sort of listened to what Haydn said. Right, I'm going to do the opposite of what you've just done.
And then we had the best composer.
And then you've got the best composer in history. But then again, you do have to think that, like, you know, when you're at school and you have a teacher and you're like, oh, I learned nothing from them. And most of the time you're just chatting absolute rubbish. Probably did.
Yeah, true.
So this is probably like Beethoven probably did learn a great deal from Haydn.
No, of course he did.
So
there's some of the things he wouldn't even realise he learned, he probably did.
Exactly. So you can't really get rid of him.
Anyone that even got close to Beethoven and could have said anything to him would have been invaluable at that time, because you never know what it was that influenced him.
Of course. Well, I mean, I'm going to drop my one that I really want to get rid of. I think he's useless.
Go.
Brahms.
Are you joking?
No, I don't like Brahms. I think Brahms.
As a clarinetist, I would be really offended because there's a lot. Half of it is half the reason we still exist in orchestras. It's because of Brahms.
Yeah, no, but I just think I'm going to just say now the problem is with Brahms is that he wrote a lot of what's called absolute music, right? So you know at that time in Germany you had absolute music versus like program music.
Yeah.
And Brahms basically just wrote this music where he said it's totally like. It's not influenced by anything. It's just music. It's music in its own kind of sphere. It's not absolutely. It's just absolutely shit music. I mean, it's not. It's rubbish. It's like if I wrote an essay which had no content and referred to it as absolute words. It'd be like, oh, great, you know, look at this fantastic artistic decision.
No, I think it was absolute music because, like, if you look at like the texture that he uses, it's so much more impressive than so many of the romantic composers of that time. Like even Tchaikovsky, whose music is great because of like mainly like melody and all of that. With Brahms, the texture is so heavy, the orchestration is perfect. It's like that's where all of the theme lies, basically.
But the problem is that a lot of people referred to his first symphony as Beethoven 10, right? That was
But that was on purpose, though.
Of course,
the fourth movement is a tribute to that symphony.
I get that.
This is the ninth symphony.
Just listen to Beethoven.
Yeah, but then
I just don't miss it. There's none of Brahms I look at and think.
Well, it's quite interesting with the spin that he put on Beethoven, who's a composer that was writing like many years before him, like 60, 70 years before him. You know what I mean? And so that was like he added his own textural like input onto a symphony that was already so famous. But that is quite interesting when you think about like how that could sound in the end.
Sure, it's true. Okay, I'll do it for you then. Let me try it. I can do it for you.
Yes,
Call it
Tom,
absolute music.
Okay,
and
and
just
let's
say,
see.
it's devoid of any character.
And let's see if it
because
becomes
it's absolute music.
And we'll see if it becomes as famous as Beethoven 9 or Brahms 1.
Well, as long
shall
as
we?
everybody who listens to this podcast promises to play it in their orchestras, mate, I'm absolutely storming it.
Oh yeah, if all two people who form an orchestra together.
who actually coincidentally play in the same orchestra, probably. Okay, so who would you get rid of then?
Yeah,
You've
okay,
sort of
I'll go.
abused me enough.
I was going to go on the conspiracy theory thing we're talking about with the whole Haydn and Beethoven and whatever we're saying. Salieri would be a great one to get rid of because if he killed Mozart, think
Mate,
about
it's a good
how
film,
many
though.
Mozart.
It's a good film.
Such a good film. Yeah, you're
It's a
right.
great
I'm just
film.
in
You
it for
can't-
that.
If you got rid of Salieri, you'd never have the film. Right. I think we should wrap up now because I
wrap
do
up.
think I'm keen to keep this like relatively short episode because
We'll probably wind it down to 15 minutes from however we've just.
I think we're going to struggle to do that. I think we'll struggle to make it 5 minutes. The rubbish we've just splurged.
But it's going to look so weird because we'll cut out that whole section, then we'll just skip to the bit where we're saying,
It's like,
I think we're
right,
right
everybody, yeah, goodbye.
Yeah, exactly. Okay.
No, but like seriously, I think I kind of feel like it would be good to keep this relatively short, so that if people come to our podcast or like having, you know,
People, what?
if people. Okay, I might have to reword that. We're gonna leave that bit in. We're gonna have to leave that in. No,
You know what?
if people sort of come and listen to our podcast.
Yeah.
Oh my god, now. Oh my god. Now. No, if people come and listen to our podcast and they sort of hear a snippet of it from somewhere and want to just get a sense of what it's about, I think that, I don't know, I'd say that this is a pretty good representation of what the future episodes might
entail. I think with a little bit more research on a few more specific topics, we'll be there. Thank you very much. That's been the first episode.
That's a horrific way of ending. No.
Yeah, okay, I'll let you actually do the ending. I'm really very bad at that kind of ceremony.
We
You go
both
for
get
it.
quite awkward, don't we? No.
During these kind of intro, outro bits, difficult, but yeah.
Very difficult. I just think we've kind of said a little bit about ourselves, about what kind of music we like, what kind of music we don't like, which is we've realised is quite a lot of music. And yeah, I think people now can go and listen to our future episodes with kind of a bit of kind of background knowledge of who we are, what we're kind of about, what the vibe of this podcast is. You know, we kind of well aware that a lot of what is recorded these days in regards to classical music is very serious. We hope to kind of change that. Classical music is seen as quite a sort of pompous, it's almost like high art, right? And it is, it's a beautiful thing, but that doesn't mean it's not accessible to everybody out there. And as the world changes and sort of grows into this more sort of cosmopolitan, sort of virtual world that we're kind of going towards, classical music is being taken further from its natural habitat, which was the concert hall, which was the composer, which was, you know, that period of time. And I just think by kind of trying to keep up with that and by giving it a platform in this new world is the best way in which we can serve it as idiotic musicians.
when you can't play the instruments, that
I do feel like I have some duty to it because it's been a huge part of my life. And I'm sure it's been a huge part of your life as well.
Of course, yeah.
And if this doesn't totally destroy, if our podcast doesn't totally destroy classical music, if it does anything other than that, I will consider this a humongous victory.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So anyway, on that note,
thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Bye.